Hi all, I think I'm filling in for Jordan.
John, Mayor, are you covering Ruth's appointment?
I am, Ellen, yeah.
Okay, I'll sign off. Thanks, guys. She's really good on the board.
Bye Ellen, thanks for coming.
Heidi, when the time arrives, everything is set on the back side to get started.
Perfect. I'm just trying to move everything around so I can see the agenda while I'm also seeing all of your lovely faces. Let's see. So it looks like we don't quite have enough people yet. Is that right? Let's see. All right. It looks like it is 9:45. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. We are still meeting virtually, and I hope that by now folks have figured out how to join us in these Zoom sessions. But you can always call us at 406-552-6012 to leave us a voicemail. And then if you could stop screen sharing so I can see more things, that would be lovely. All right, so let's go ahead and start with roll call.
All right. Stacy Anderson, doesn't look like she's here yet. Mirta Becerra, not here yet. Daniel Carlino. John Contos.
Here.
Jordan Hess is gone today. Gwen Jones is gone today. Kristen Jordan. Doesn't look like she's here yet. Mike Nugent.
Present.
Jennifer Savage.
Present.
Amber Sherrill.
Present.
Sandra Visica. Doesn't look like she's here yet. Stacy Anderson.
Present.
Heidi West.
Present.
So we have 2, 4, 6, 7 present. And
Perfect.
that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. So the next item is the approval of the minutes, and without objections, those will be approved. We'll move to, see no hands going up. Public comment on non-agenda items. Now I don't see if I can see if there we go. It looks like we have no public in attendance. So we'll go ahead and move on to the first agenda item in committee business. And that would be a reappointment to the MRA board. So I'll turn it over to John Engen.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Sharon. Good morning, folks. Pleasure to see you this morning. I am asking you to confirm the reappointment of Ruth Reineking to the Missoula Redevelopment Agency Board of Directors. Ruth has served many years now, as it turns out, with distinction. She is always present. She is always perfectly familiar with the material before her. She makes thoughtful decisions based on critical thinking, and I hope that you will consider her reappointment favorably.
All right, Amber, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks. I would be happy to make the recommended motion. I've crossed over with Ruth in different capacities in my life for a long time, and she is thoughtful. She is balanced. She definitely has the best interest of our community in mind, and I think allowing her to continue in this role would serve the city and our community quite well.
Thank you. That motion is in order. Is there anyone else on the committee that would like to comment or ask questions in regard to this reappointment? I see no hands going up. I'll just briefly comment that I've had the pleasure of working with Ruth in her capacity as an MRA board member in my day job. Former day job, and she is absolutely she's thoughtful, she asks great questions, she's considerate, and I think she's also incredibly kind. She came and toured Lee Gordon Place before it went on the market and came to the opening, and is just an absolutely lovely individual and very engaged with the projects that they see. So I fully support her nomination. Are there any other questions or comments? If there aren't, I don't see hands flying up. We'll go ahead and move to a vote.
Stacy Anderson,
Yes.
Mirta Becerra, oh, excuse me, Daniel Carlino,
No.
John Contos,
Yes.
Mike Nugent,
Yes.
Jennifer Savage,
Yes.
Amber Sherrill,
Yes.
Sandra Vasica,
I wasn't here for the presentation, so I'll abstain from this one.
all right, and Heidi West.
Yes.
All right, so that means as soon as and just 1 second, there we go. So we have 6 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstain.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is presented by Lee Griffin.
Hi, good morning. Today, I am asking the committee to approve a resolution. It's kind of a mouthful, authorizing the execution and delivery of various property schedules with respect to the master tax exempt installment purchase agreement with U.S. Bancorp, government leasing and finance, and for the finance of various items of capital equipment and other matters in connection therewith. And I will give folks a little bit of background on this. We have what is called a core equipment replacement list, and this is something that's brought forward in the budget every year. If a department requests a new vehicle or a new piece of equipment, that comes forward as a new request, and then it's determined whether or not it will sit on this core equipment replacement list. And we finance this list using this, we call it a capital financing. It's a lease, essentially. And then, the title turns over to the city once we completely pay off the piece of equipment or vehicle. We have been doing this for a handful of years now with U.S. Bancorp, and we've received very favorable rates. And so this financing will be for respective equipment purchases that have happened over the last 18 months. So they were approved in the FY21 budget, in the FY22 budget, and then we get to this point where we're able to issue the financing. And this is a parameters resolution, if folks have sort of looked through this. So you'll see that it gives us a little bit of time to pin down the rates with US Bank, but they won't exceed certain amounts. And it's between 3% and 4%, depending on the type of equipment, useful life, and so forth. So it's sort of a general financing resolution. Instead of a bond, it's a lease that we're bringing to you today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this agenda item? No. Stacy.
Thanks so much. Great presentation, pretty straightforward, sort of, and I'm happy to make the recommended motion as needed to move forward.
Thank you, Stacy. I just want to note for the record that we still have no members of the public attending for public comments. Does anyone else have any comments or questions before we move to a vote? Doesn't look like it. So let's go ahead and take a vote on the item 3.2.
All right. Stacy and, oh, excuse me, Mirta Becerra,
I think she's still absent. Oh, no, she's here.
Here.
Sorry.
Yes, thanks.
Daniel Carlino,
Yes.
John Contos,
Yes.
Mike Nugent,
Yes.
Jennifer Savage,
Yes.
Amber Sherrill,
Yes.
Sandra Vasika,
Yes.
Heidi West,
Yes.
and Stacy Anderson.
Yes.
So that's unanimously yes for everyone in attendance.
Thank you. So our next agenda item are appointments, interviews for to select a new board member for the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee. And I believe our first interview is scheduled to start at 10:05. So I think that gives us 10 minutes. So I'm going to say we recess for 10 minutes because I wouldn't expect anyone to show up earlier than their scheduled time. And I don't see anyone. Let me double check, but I don't see that any of our interviewees are present as of now. So let's join back at like 10:03 or something. All right, so it is 10:03. Our first interview is supposed to start at 10:05. I don't see him here yet, but we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order just to be ready for our interviewers, interviewees.
And she has arrived. I promoted her to panelist. So she,
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, so
Yes.
let me pull up our schedule real quick. So I have that our first interview is with Matt Larson. Is that correct?
well, I don't, Jennifer Lauren Nielsen has arrived.
Has
and-
arrived. Okay, I
and
see
that-
her in the attendees
Yes,
list. So,
and that's the only one thus far.
okay, so we'll go ahead. It looks like her scheduled time is at 11:05. So you're welcome to hang out or you're welcome to come back at 11:05 for that interview. So the schedule I have in our agenda is 10:05 is Matt Larson, 10:25 is Marty York, and she emailed this morning saying that she was going to withdraw her name from this pool of applicants. So we will not be hearing from her today, even though her resume looked amazing. And then at 10:45, we have Charlene. And then at 11:05, we have Jenifa. And I think we should stick with those times since those are what are publicly posted. So we'll just give Matt's, I guess, an opportunity to join us. And I guess if we don't have any interviewees, we can take a break until 10:45. Is that the appropriate way to handle that? Yeah, okay. So let's give Matt's another 5 minutes or so to join because I don't want him to miss out on this opportunity. Sorry, guys, this is really boring. I see. Hold on. I see that Jenifa's hand is raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute and ask a question, go for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say is I can be flexible. So if you end up having a bunch of gap, just let me know. Even a text
Yeah, I
message,
think
can get back
because
on.
these are publicly noticed meetings and we need to allow the opportunity for the public to comment on any decisions we make, we have to stick to the schedule that was posted. So I apologize for that because that is a lot of we've got about an hour until your interview.
Just with tech stuff, I didn't know if I should come early because it always something happens.
Yeah, so I think just, to uphold the public process, we'll stick with this, we need to stick with the format. So if you want to just come back.
Yeah, I just log back in like 5 minutes till.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again. All right, we'll give Matt's 2 more minutes. And if he doesn't join us, we'll go ahead and recess until Charlene's interview, which is at 10:45. So yeah, maybe we should all start rejoining or, turning our cameras back on right around 10:43 or so that we're ready.
Heidi, was
Um,
he contacted just to make sure, or? don't know?
I would assume so. Sorry, I'm filling in for Jordan. Who's filling in for Gwen. But I would assume so, because I did have a conversation with Marty last evening about, so she was well aware of the schedule. So
I can give him a phone call real quick and see if
Okay.
you'd like. Okay, hold on.
Heidi?
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, since since it hasn't always been our practice to call applicants and remind them of their times, I think that feels a little unequal to me and has not been kind of the protocol that we've followed in the past. I think we give for anyone, we give them the amount of time that that we decide we're going to give them to show up and move forward. That's just my thoughts. Because we don't normally do that. That doesn't seem fair to all the candidates we will and have, interviewed with similar situations. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. Stacy?
I also, agree with Amber. They have a notification process through the clerk's office to allow people to send them the link, to let them know what time they're scheduled. And then that is sort of the process that we go forth with all other applicants. And so, they're kind of notified of their interview time. And given the link to join. So we haven't, there has been times in other committees, that I have chaired that an applicant hasn't come, didn't notify. So.
Excuse me, it appears that Matt Larson is waiting in the waiting room. Would you like me to promote him to panelist?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't, all right. So since I was confused with who was the first person interviewing, okay, I will do that now. Thank you.
I have hands up and all sorts of things going on. Okay.
Hello, this is Matt Larson.
Hi, thanks. Just a second. Stacy, did you have anything else to add? I still have hands up. Okay. Let me lower your
Sorry,
hand.
lowering my hand.
Okay. And then I'll go ahead and Sandra, did you have anything? I think we should move on to the schedule.
I just wanted to say we have called interviewees in the past. So I feel like we should give him at least a couple of minutes during his interview time. So I will not take up any more of that time.
All right. Thank you, Sandra. Okay. So let's go ahead, and since we are still virtual, in-person meetings, what we've done is we go around the room and have everyone participate in the question asking. But since that is really challenging to do in this virtual setting, I'll just go through and read all of them, and everyone else can take really good notes. So, all right. So our first interviewee is Matt Larson. So I'll go ahead and ask the first question. So this one is, and just for a reminder, I think we have 3 interviewees today, and we are nominating 1 for the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee. Okay, so our first question is, please tell us how your education, experience, and training feels like it's missing word, and training that can contribute to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee. There is an extra word. Let me reread that. Please tell us how your education, expertise, and training can contribute to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee.
Okay, hi, this is Matt Larson from Ward 3. Thank you for reading that question. My experience is pretty deep in this field. I went to high school at Hellgate High School and graduated. Immediately, I went to Full Sail for real world education. The school is called in Orlando, Florida. It's a tech school. They teach recording arts. They teach stage design, game design, film, TV, all the stuff. I did recording arts there. Then I moved to Chicago, Illinois, and worked at Chicago Recording Company for 7 years, from an unpaid intern all the way up to engineer and mixer. On the music side primarily, but there was a post-production side, which is what's referred to in the audio business. Post-production audio is movie and TV sound. So I did some sessions there in Chicago from 2004 to 2007, primarily music, but a little bit of commercial work, as Chicago is kind of a center for marketing and commercial firms like Foot Cone and Belding. I can't name them off all right now. And then I moved back home to Missoula here and moved to LA, Los Angeles, California in 2013, where I worked at Blue Room Post-Production, which is the last independent post-production house in Los Angeles. It's across the street from the Paramount Studios. They have a recording, an ADR studio, what's called an ADR studio, in the Chaplin Theater at Raleigh Studios, across the street from Paramount Studios. If you've ever seen any pictures of the Paramount lot, it's literally right across the street. So I was entrusted with keys there, worked up from assistant to engineer in that field, did ADR, which is called automated dialogue recording, where they replace dialogue lines that have been miscaptured during production. Maybe a plane flew over during a cowboy period piece, so they have to do all the audio over from scratch. So I worked on a TV show called Revenge, a TV show called Hannibal. What else? Major Crimes, Castle. I'm having trouble remembering everything right now. What else relevant? I worked on a movie called The Letters. We did a movie about there was a movie about Mother Teresa with I forget who the main actor is now, but we did all the DVD commentary for that at Blue Room Post. And then I also worked at a music recording studio by the name of Winmark Recording Studios, and worked with like A-list clients up and down. I did playback, what's called playback, live playback or show track playback for Kendrick Lamar, and programmed his performance on the second episode of the Colbert Late Show. That was the first gig that I pressed play on as a playback engineer. They flew me out to New York. We went into the Ed Sullivan Theater. I met Stephen Colbert. I met Elon Musk. I actually introduced Elon Musk to Kendrick Lamar that night. But anyway, relevant experience. I then went on tour with Big Sean for a year. Big Sean is signed to Kanye West's label. I worked as his playback engineer and recording engineer a little bit there. Did TV performances for Ellen, SNL, Jimmy Fallon twice. I just don't know if you're ever going to find anyone with more relevant experience in the TV field here, but I don't know. I know I'm kind of persona non grata here, so I'm really surprised that I even got a phone call. And, it's magical that you guys can email me because I can't email you. So anyway, that's what next question.
All right, perfect. Let's move on to the next question. And I also, our interviewees, if they're joining not on a phone, usually turn on their cameras. So it would be really great if you could join us in person as well. What'd you say?
I'm sorry, I can't turn on the camera right now.
Okay. Let's see. Describe your familiarity with Missoula Community Access Television and Missoula's cable franchise ordinance.
The cable franchise ordinance is new, I guess. I don't know much about the cable franchise ordinance, but I do know a lot about the city ordinances in general, as you guys probably know. But I'm happy to look into the current Missoula cable ordinance law, but I just can't recite it by memory.
All right. Thank you.
And MCAT, I'm aware is been a community staple for 20 plus years. I don't know, 25 years. How long has MCAT been going? My friends have worked there. My friends have taught there, and I believe it to be very important to the community. And we spend a lot of money on it, and I think it should be utilized as much as possible. I love that they do streaming. When I've worked at the ZAC as an engineer, helped do streaming of numerous live show events, and have nothing but good things to say about all the staff that work at MCAT. Have not had any problems with them.
Awesome. Thank you. And let's move on to the next question. What community benefit do you see in Missoula's decision to offer a government cable access channel focused on delivering programming relating to local government?
I see benefit to that. I think that specific question related to community government, I guess we can get more older audience people that aren't familiar with the internet. Maybe the captioning is easier for certain disabled people in the community, or like other services that specific platform can provide, that MCAT can provide in general, that might not be easy for people to utilize. And that I find very important. And we need to provide equitable access to our city government, to all the people. And I'm happy that we're doing in-person meetings, and it seems to me, in my professional experience with MCAT's staff, they can really come through when it comes to streaming these events. So maybe we can switch venues. I don't know. There's all types. It's like a community Swiss Army knife, I guess, of media and live streaming and just content creation capabilities. So is there anything else?
No, that's a great answer. We've got four more questions, really. So the next one is, one of the committee's primary responsibilities is to suggest governmental programming that MCAT could offer on channel 190. Do you have any suggestions or ideas about existing programming, or any ideas for improving our local government programming?
This is all just, if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking specifically only about government programming, or all
Yes.
the programming?
Just local government programming.
Yeah, I think you guys could benefit, and the community could benefit from webcasting, or providing on MCAT a means for the Wednesday meetings. I'm not sure if the Wednesday meetings are on there. Are those all streamed on MCAT already? If they are, then I don't know, like, it would be really awesome if the chat feature could be turned on in Zoom, and MCAT could actually rebroadcast what's going on in Zoom in multiple windows. That would be cool, because then, like, the people who are attending remotely can discuss, with other people in attendance, and just, talk as a community while the meeting's going on. I feel like that's really what we lack in these meetings in general as a community. There's council people who are allowed to speak multiple times and ask questions, but there's no means even for us to talk amongst ourselves in as community members in whatever manner we determine necessary. There's things like Discord and Telegram that we could also utilize as a means to do community chats live while the meetings are going on. And this is really important because a lot of times we as community members have been limited by you all up on the stage by a 3-minute, timer for public comment or for commentary on any agenda item. And so this allows us as a community to expound on the things that we hear of interest of other people in the community saying. And that's a constructive dialogue. When it's also weighted onto the community's representative side, and it allows for a volleying of dialogue that just eats up time when there's people in the community who want to actually, speak about new topics or new features of this specific agenda item or public comments item. Do you understand where I'm going? Like, I don't get how we're doing a service to the community if you guys talk as council people on email and figure all this stuff out, and then we ask questions, we can't expound on our full idea, and maybe someone else hears something they like and they can't expound on it either, or talk to that other person whom has spoken just before them via the chat. I think like common sense features like that are already built into Zoom that have been kind of punitively shut off by council people or tech people, or for whatever reason have been turned off. I think that they should probably be turned back on, because it's just common sense, freedom of speech, and part of a actual constructive dialogue here. But that's just my opinion.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Are you aware of any potential conflicts of interest that may arise during your service on the committee? If you found you had a conflict of interest, how would you handle that situation?
I can tell you one thing. I mean, I would handle it a lot differently than current city council members have handled their potential conflicts of interest. Specifically Mike Nugent and his real estate listings.
Sorry,
This is relevant. This is relevant.
No, it is
here.
not.
I'm sorry,
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
This is truth. This is facts. Stacey Anderson.
I have to call point of order as well. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, this is off subject.
I'm a panelist. You asked me a question. I have the freedom of speech and I want to talk. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm saying how I do it differently.
I would like to know.
Can I go on and expand how I would do it differently?
You can use yourself as an example.
Oh, I can use myself as an example.
Yeah, not a member of this body.
Not a specific member? Okay. Well, in general, there have been situations before that have been brought to the attention of the city council via certain representatives about certain other representatives on the council and their conflicts of interest. And those have not been handled correctly. And I think that, in my opinion, I would be more forthcoming. Like if I was going to vote on a committee item where I was going to directly benefit from a contract that I had outside of the knowledge of that committee. And then let's say, I would just say, hey, I got a contract and this thing I'm voting on this committee affects it directly. And that's it. I just want to put that out there. This is part of the appearance of fairness, and not like, if there's any appearance of an impropriety, you should address it, right? You should be open about it. I think I fundamentally differ in opinion on this than some certain members of the council.
We should move on to the next question.
I don't think I'm done yet.
Yes, you're done.
But if you
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, this
You're
is
attacking people.
ridiculous.
Enough.
Ask me a question. I'm giving you an answer. Oh my God.
Okay,
What's the
so
next
the
question?
last question is if you're available on the third Monday of every month from 2 to 3 p.m. In addition to meetings, there will be materials to review and tasks delegated by the committee. Do you have sufficient time to devote to the activities associated with serving on this committee?
So you just read a question. It's once a week. How long once a week, roughly?
It is on the third Monday of every month. So it's once a month from 2 to 3 p.m.
Once a month for 1 hour. Yes, I
Yes.
can of course cover that and more.
Okay. And then
Whatever arises.
Do you have any questions for us that are specific to this board and what this board does?
Ooh, let me think. Geez. I don't know. Like, I didn't know this meeting was coming up today. I don't know. There's some sort of, oh man. How many people are on the committee? And what are their names currently? Like the other members that are not being appointed?
I believe all that information is posted on our website under our boards and committee items, and I'm not entirely
Is it Josh
sure.
Schrader? Is Josh Schrader on that? Who else is on that? I'm trying to think of the names. Is there anybody on city council that can name one member on this committee?
I believe Daniel Carlino is our city council liaison, and I am happy to yield to him and say who the other members are.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the council member on there. And then there's people from different communications, like Tyler Christensen is representing the schools. Allison Franz with the county, Jenny with the city. And then the chair now is Nevin Graves. And I'm just looking at the list, but there's Jake McNally, Lisa Mecklenburg, and Hatton Littman, and Jen Sauer. And that's everybody.
And sorry to interrupt, but Joel is the Joel Bayard. I'm sorry, I pronounced his last name wrong, but he's one of the main guys on there as well.
Yeah, Joel runs that whole MCAT, and he's always there too at the meetings.
So I think that is the last. I just moved away from my correct tab. There it is again.
What's the duration? What's the duration of this position? 1 year?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
It's 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. Thank you, Daniel.
I don't know what we'd do without Daniel. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Thank you for your time. We will finish. We have 2 more applicants to interview. So our next interview starts at 10:45. So we will be in recess until 10:45. And I believe the clerk's office will get a hold of you, letting you know whether you have or haven't been appointed to this board. So at this point, we'll go into recess, and I'll see everyone back at 10:45 for our last 2 interviews.
Thank you. Great to see everyone. It's been fun, Heidi. It's been fun, Stacy. It's been fun, Martha. Bye.
Bye. All right, according to my clock, it's 10:45, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting back to order. We are in the process of interviewing candidates to be appointed to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee, also known as MCTAC. And we have interviewed one applicant thus far. One has withdrawn her name from the pool, and we have 2 more interviews to go. We are currently waiting for Charlene Magdalik to join us for her interview. And she is not in attendance yet, but we will give her some time to join us. And so we have 3 applicants total, and there is 1 position open on the board. And I don't know this person's phone number, so we can't call them.
Is this for Charlene? Charlene?
Yeah.
I found her phone number on her application. I can give her a call if you'd like.
Sure. I don't think we should make a habit of this, but just to keep things consistent, since we called the first applicant, I think it would be fair for today. And in the future, I would hope people come to their assigned times. Amber, your hand's raised.
Yeah, I think that's fine for today, just because we've done this in the past. We've not always done it in the past, and it was probably inappropriate in the past, in my opinion. So I would like to have a further discussion about this. I think we, in general, need to give them a certain period of grace period to get to their interview. No job interview would allow you to call you to remind you to come. I understand things happen for people, but we also need good communicators on our board and boards and people that can keep their calendars and things like that. So I think that's fine today because it makes me uncomfortable to not call her, given this situation. But we have a very set way that we communicate about these positions from the city, and I think we need to honor that. And so I would enjoy having a further conversation at some point on that.
Yep, I agree. I think it's making ad hoc decisions isn't great, and it's a little stressful on my part. Mike, would you like to add to this discussion while we're waiting?
Well, I was going to say, since we're all here and we have to be here, can someone tell me like how we do let them know? Like, do they get a reminder from the city, or does anybody know like the process so that, I mean, I guess some of us who don't know it know
it. Stacy, do you have a question or do you want to answer that?
No, I'm happy to answer that. So basically, the clerk's office is the one who's in communication with everybody who turns in an application for a board service. So they, acknowledge the receipt of the application. They let them know the time of the committee meeting, the time of their interview schedule, send them the link to join in. So it's, I think, Megan because been going back and forth with her about some interviews we have later today scheduled in public safety and health. So they're the ones who are in communication with the applicants throughout the process. And then they're the ones who then follow up at the end to let them know if they have been selected to be on the committee or have not been selected. If they're selected to be on the committee, how they can, what time, place, if it's virtual or in person, their committee meetings are, that they are on the board. Once they're selected and say, okay, hey, you're on the MCTAC, it meets X Monday at such and such time. If it's a virtual or in person, how for them to get there, then once they have that initial information, it's not like the clerk's office follows up with them on a monthly basis to remind them to be like, hey, but they are on the email distribution that sends out the agenda for the board meeting, or like, hey, we don't have quorum and it's not going to happen, and things like that. So that is the process for scheduling and selection and of committee interviews.
Yeah, and I would also add that often the clerk's office is really great at coordinating with people. So often, or some of the time, we'll see some of these interviews drug out over a period of weeks just to accommodate the schedules of all the different people that are interviewing. So it isn't like, it's definitely a coordinated process with the applicants, to make sure that they have the opportunity to actually interview. It's not a like, this is the only time you can make it, and if you can't, you're out of luck sort of situation. Let's see, Sandra, you had your hand up. Just going down in order.
I called her, and it's not a working number, but I would also like to add I absolutely agree that we should not make this a habit. I just we did it earlier for one of the previous boards, so I wanted to be consistent on that fact before we had a discussion on that. And I've applied for the Land Use Consolidated Planning Board before I was on council, and I was very aware of when the time was, and I was very aware of the interview questions and everything. Like, it's all very out there. Like, it's not like it's hiding anything. So it's definitely on the interviewee's part. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Stacy, your hand's still up? Or is that just from earlier? Okay, took it down.
Sorry, earlier.
Okay, and then I guess we have Amber. Did you want to? Sorry, I skipped Mike. Can I? Okay, we're good. Okay, Amber.
Okay. I think chairing a committee that's done a lot of interviews in the last couple of years. We work with, I just want to reiterate that we work with these interviewees if they can't make a certain time, and I've held open the appointment process for longer when people can't make a certain time. We understand that. There needs to be some communication if you can't make that time, obviously. And it's hard to put it on anyone to call them, and I don't think it's needed. And I do see what Sandra's saying, that We have called them in the past. People in the past, I just don't want to continue that. And so I think we just need to be very clear that we're not going to be doing that going forward and having everyone abide by that if that's what the committee decides or the council decides.
Mike, did you have anything to add?
Well, I just had a different comment and question, so.
Perfect.
Um,
While we're off topic.
while we're just here waiting in our regularly scheduled committee time that's been publicly noticed. On the time slots for the interviewees on these types of interviews, I wonder if it would be possible for when we put the agenda together to basically disclose that their interview could be shifted within the block that we're going to interview people, so that if, you know, we've got the first gap, but then the second person's there, that we can move them up so that then instead of having dead time in the middle, you know, maybe it gives us 10 minutes at the end that we can get some work done on something else. I wonder if that would meet the criteria.
Yeah, I think we can add that. Clearly, we have to have a future discussion. I made a note of it, and I think we should bring this up as obviously we can't really discuss anything substantive since it's not noticed. But I think we should revisit this in a future meeting, probably in COW, I would assume. John?
Yes, Zooming wouldn't be an issue here, would it? As far as
No, it should not be, because there's multiple ways to call in. So you could either Zoom or call into the meeting. So as long as you have access to, you know, a phone, you can participate. And I would imagine, since these have all been scheduled and the clerk's office have been in communication with them, that, you know, the applicants do have access to enough technology to be able to, you know, communicate with the clerk's office, which also means they have, you know, enough ability to communicate with us. So
really it's on their part.
Yes, I would say so.
And that kind of says a lot about them in some ways too, right?
I mean, it
Unless
is
there was
what
an
it
accident.
is. Yeah. So I think we have another, I guess, trying to do math, 7 minutes, 8 minutes until Jennifer joins us again. And I will assume that she is joining us and she was here earlier. So I guess we just have dead time. Would the easiest thing be to just continue, go back into recess until 5 after? Sandra, do you have feedback?
Yeah, I was wondering, are these all the applicants for today? Like, are we doing a final vote or not a final vote, but are we voting this afternoon?
Yes, so I believe these are, so we had 4 applicants and one of them withdrew this morning, sent official notice. And then there should be a motion at the end of all of this. So yeah, we should.
Okay, thanks.
So. I guess probably the correct thing would be to go ahead and adjourn until the next, or is that the right word? To put us in recess, that's the right word, until 11:05. So Janifa, just so you know what's going on, we're in recess until your interview starts, since the last applicant didn't join us. So that is why there's a bunch of black
Change
screens.
positions. The dog may interrupt now, but yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that is
Okay, good. No problem. And thank you. I'll
That's-
just shut everything down. I'm still here, but I'll just shut everything down until you call me.
perfect. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
All right. So according to my watch, it's 11:05. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting back to order. This has been quite the unproductive meeting today. I apologize for all of the long gaps. Just for context, we are interviewing folks today to fill a spot on the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee. We had 4 applicants, 1 withdrew this morning, and we also had 1 person not show up for their interview. So we are down to our final interview with Janifa Lauren Nielsen, and she is present. So I'll give her the opportunity to turn on her camera and her microphone and join us in the meeting. Usually when we do these in person, we go around the room and everybody gets an opportunity to ask a question. And just so you know, every candidate gets asked the same questions. So we don't add, and if we add one question for a different candidate, we have to consistently ask the same question to all other candidates so that everyone has a fair chance at the board. So instead of going around the room, I'll just read them all, since Zoom makes it really challenging to to switch off who's asking what. So I'll go ahead and ask the first question. And yeah, we'll wrap up this meeting. Okay, so the first question is, please tell us how your education, expertise, and training can contribute to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee.
Well, my background is technically cognitive science. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm not using a headset, so that's always a thing. So my background is cognitive science. So it's human-computer interaction and AI to predict behavior. So I'm very comfortable with computers. But what we found is cognitive science, I'm based in linguistics in my area, and communication and language is essential in getting a message across. My background research is in lexical memory, testing usage and confusability and recall. And it's funny how the words we use don't matter if they're confusable. They matter how often we use it, if a person's going to remember. And things like government communication, sending out public information, the words we use are essential. And just so that the community can remember, that keep it simple, stupid. And also, so in my professional work, I work a lot in disseminating information in foreign countries, like some of my UN work. And now I'm trying to retire. I have a mess. I'm very tired. So I'm trying to retire, and I got to come home, and I still do work doing social media and Zoom. I'm the guy in the back. And what we've done is during COVID, we found that our communication has expanded because more people were receptive to going online if they wanted to learn something, to attend something. Our attendance went up dramatically. So I'm able to understand the troubles of communicating to a general audience, as well as technology is changing rapidly. And the amount of information people are able to attune to has decreased in its duration. So now if we can get messages out in 15 seconds, we know we've got them. 30, we lose them. 60, let's hope it had a lot of images, So my education involving tech, my work involving communications, and spreading important information out, because we had a whole vaccination campaign for malaria, not for COVID, way before that. And helping to keep people comfortable with what they're hearing and trust what they're hearing is true.
That's awesome. Okay, so the second question is, describe your familiarity with Missoula Community Access Television and Missoula's cable franchise ordinance.
So growing up in Missoula, it was just that station on the television in between Grandma's Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. Wasn't really involved, but since coming home, I explored it. I went down to the library to explore it because I was actually very involved. So my work had me based either in New York or in LA, and I picked the Sunshine. And I got very involved in our public access station in Pasadena. And I took the producer training and director training courses. So I ran down to our library in Missoula because I wanted to see what they were offering. And I was impressed by the studio. I mean, they even have that back studio where the floor can be removed to lay more cable and stuff. I was amazed. And checking out the social media, I saw how they're using their social media platforms to highlight local artists with their like stop motion animation and their outreach to kids. Something that we didn't have that Missoula is offering is the direct outreach to children. Because what I'm learning is, as I get older, the production value of anyone's content has to be at a pretty high level now, just to be up to standard for the common man. Isn't that funny? It's just- everybody thinks it should look like a Starbucks website, even if you're doing it at home in your kitchen table. So
Thank you. There might be a few of those stop motion animation videos at my house. We have a whole CD of them.
my cleaning is stop motion. My household cleaning sometimes becomes stop motion.
Yeah. What community benefits do you see in Missoula's decision to offer a government cable access channel focused on delivering programming relating to local government?
Transparency. And I'm a former commissioner for accessibility disability, and mobility becomes an issue when it comes to being involved in government, in voicing your opinion, in showing up. This allows it to go into your home, onto your phone, on your laptop. If you can't attend, you can watch it later. I was able to attend I was able to watch a few of the committee's meetings, right? It spreads the democracy as far as we can by making it as open and accessible as possible.
Thank you. Let's see. One of the committee's primary responsibilities is to suggest governmental programming that MCAT could offer on Channel 190. Do you have any suggestions or ideas about existing programming or any ideas for improving our local government programming?
Well, so I'm sort of what you call a social media maven. I went out all across the web before I applied to find out where your reach was going. Number one, the hyperlink on your website to your Instagram is dead. So it doesn't actually go to an Instagram. Just FYI.
Writing it down.
Sorry, this is what I get paid to do. So I'm always like, I'm a problem finder, but I also find solutions in my work. But also many of the posts just had dates. It didn't give a brief about what the content was. Before I commit more than 15 seconds, I need to know what I'm committing to. Also, use hashtags. Work with the algorithms of these corporations like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so that you'll get into the feed of the people that want your content. The other thing is the clips. I didn't see any events. I didn't see any of the material being curated. So all of those great shorts, right, that I'm seeing, sorry, I look this way because I see faces, right? So all of those great shorts, doing your shorts festival, just to put them all together. The one thing I think that could be used is using the tech aspect of your content more when you're posting it online. I myself, I don't watch television. I am all digital, and I am what they consider an elder millennial. Can you believe that? They give me an elder. I'm an elder millennial, and that's just sort of the way it's gone. Also, one note, I haven't been able to, in my research, find out where the funding, the franchise fee funding to support the public access station is coming from, because as we get fewer cable subscribers, the funding goes down, and seeing ways that we can sustain the funding by switching maybe to internet subscribers. Because if many of our subscribers are watching via the internet, it's an option to show evidence that this is where our subscribers are accessing us and how we need funding from this source. That's just, I'm always checking down the funds.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. We've got 2 more questions. Are you aware of any potential conflicts of interest that may arise during your service on the committee? If you found you had a conflict of interest, how would you handle that situation?
What's the name? I'm trying to think. I can't find any, because I'm not affiliated. Like I said, I'm semi-retired now, so I'm not affiliated with any corporations or sponsors or potential. No. My work though is related to the UN and human rights, but we of course can't be any politics at all. So I don't feel I have anything, but if I did, my immediate response would be to step back from that discussion or that topic and let everyone know. Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Thank you. Okay, so the final question, well, before you have the opportunity to ask us questions, is the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Committee meets the third Monday of every month from 2 to 3 p.m. In addition to meetings, there will be material to review and tasks delegated by the committee. Do you have sufficient time to devote to the activities associated with serving on the committee?
Yes, and out of all of the activities, I wanted to devote something specifically to Missoula in my volunteer work. And I thought this was best because it's all about communication. Just so you know, I can be deployed. As you've seen in my resume, I can be deployed. I will not be deployed to Poland, I don't think, because I don't speak Russian and I'm not a medical professional. But these kind of things don't happen out of the blue. I usually receive 30 to 60 days, and assignments can be 6 months to 7 months. But I was commissioner when I was still doing this job, and I never missed a meeting because sometimes I'm able to access, whether it's via Zoom or to call in, or I kept all my attendance so that I was able to fly home, take care of home things, and make sure I flew home during my meeting. So that way I was getting it done. It's not hard to commit if you want to commit. That's sort of my frame of mind on that.
Perfect. All right. And then the last question is just if you have any questions for us.
Yes.
I hope I can answer them. I will warn you, I am filling in on the board as board chair. So I'll pass it off to other members of the committee who may have more context than I do.
It's back to sort of what I asked in the beginning. What is the security of your funding as cable subscribers are decreasing? Are you tied to this revenue source, or is it more independent? How is it working?
Stacy, do you want to address that?
Yeah, happy to address it. So I used to be the council representative to the MCTAC board when we were renegotiating our franchise agreement. And basically, yes, you are correct in the fact that we get a certain fee from Spectrum for every cable subscription that there is, because they utilize our infrastructure or poles and right of ways to string their wire. Unfortunately, as much as I think a lot of us are realizing that more and more people are accessing information online, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 is what dictates franchise agreements. And at that point in time, the thought of none of us having cable and all of us accessing our stuff via the internet wasn't really thought out. And so as much as it does seem to make sense to move it away from cable subscriptions to internet subscriptions, that is not a part of our franchise agreement. And that is not something that we as this body or this committee has any jurisdiction over. So, I mean, this is the cable franchise fee basically is a small portion of the overall MCAT funding. This committee oversees the fact that as a part of this franchise agreement, there has to be a certain number of hours allotted to government programming, and that is city, county, and public schools. And so this committee oversees that portion of the programming for the as a part of this overall subscription fee. And we have, I think, finalized I rolled off as the committee as we were finalizing our franchise fee agreement. I know that there is another cable company looking to expand its service to Missoula. So I am assuming that we will have franchise fee agreement with them as well, because they will want to use the same amount of infrastructure. But this committee really is sort of just focused on the governmental portion of the overall MCTAC programming. That's where I was looking for. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it's a struggle everyone's facing. Yeah, I have one more questions?
Yes, you have one more question?
It's
Sure.
a programming question. Growing up in Montana, I was very resourceful when I went out into the world. And I was wondering, do we do a lot of safety preparedness programming, even like basic first aid training kind of programming that we can disseminate via television and through our social networks and stuff like that with our own like fire department and police department showcasing them? Do we have that kind of thing already? I haven't been able to find, or is that something that the committee has thought about before?
Sorry, Stacy, do you have, or Amber, are you wanting to address this question or should I?
Yeah, I was just gonna answer that. You know, and I'm not the representative on MCTAC anymore. Daniel is, so maybe Daniel could weigh in on this as well. But we haven't done a lot of that. And to be honest, I think it's a great question because as we're talking about climate issues and natural disasters and things, it's a great, and being prepared for that, it would be a great way to kind of disseminate that information. But during my tenure, at least, I'm not aware of a lot of it, if any of it.
All right, and Daniel is our current rep to this board. So I'll let him have the final word. And then I believe we are actually out of time and with this interview, and I'll be looking for a motion. Or Daniel, did you have something? Your hand went down.
I was just
Okay,
gonna
go ahead.
address that question from Jenny and just say, like at the beginning of like every MCAT board meeting, like we have the opportunity to like flag things that are coming up that we'd like to see MCAT record. So basically, if there's anything like that happening in town, we can flag it to get MCAT to record it. They seem to always have open spaces, so it's definitely a good possibility.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to the interview. And just so you know, the clerk's office will follow up with all the applicants and let them know what is decided today. So I think you're welcome to hang around for committee discussion, but you don't have to. So if that's awkward. So Amber, I see that your hand is raised and thank you for coming.
I go, is it okay? Oh.
Yeah. You're welcome to leave the virtual room if you would like to.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really impressed with Janifa. I'm fascinated by kind of her history and her knowledge about this and her thoughtfulness. I think that the fact that she did that much research and put that much thought into how we could improve, and they were real things. They were great questions. Clearly has a background for it. Clearly, is going to be a great addition, I think, to this committee, having served on it in the past. I mean, that just her thoughtfulness was very impressive, as well as her resume. So I would like to, I guess I was going to say, may I speak to it? I'm going to put the motion on the floor and already spoke to it. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Amber. That motion is in order. And then we'll go ahead. Sandra, I see your hand raised next.
Yeah, Amber said basically everything I wanted to say. Not only did she arrive early, and not only did she nail the interview, but she's going to be a huge asset to this board, and not only to this board, but to the city. She pointed out things that I not even was aware of. I want her for my day job. Yeah, I would be very happy to support this motion.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a comment on the motion? I just want to add that I was super excited to interview her after reading everyone's resumes, just because just on paper, she looked like a really, really great fit for this board appointment. And I just, like, her interview did not disappoint at all. So I support that motion. And if there are no other comments or questions, let's go ahead and move on to a vote. And for the record, there are no members of the public in attendance to comment on this item.
All right. Let's see. Daniel Carlino.
Yes.
John Contos,
Yes.
Mike Nugent,
Yes.
Jennifer Savage, I think maybe Jennifer, you were muted. Okay. I saw you said yes. There we go. Amber Sherrill,
Yes.
Sandra Vasica,
Yes.
Heidi West,
Yes.
Stacy Anderson,
Yes.
Mirta Becerra.
Yes.
So that is unanimous for all 9 in attendance.
All right, thank you so much. That was the last item on our agenda today. So let's be adjourned, and we'll see you in the next Zoom room. All right, bye.